What's up, you guys? How you guys doing? Welcome back to the channel. So, for today's video, I've kind of got a different setup. I'm currently at my desk because for today's video, we're doing kind of like a study with me. I've seen a few of these videos around, and so I decided let me make one myself. I just started a community college yesterday, and I'm only in one class right now. I'll talk about that, but I was supposed to go to cosmetology school, and then it was massage therapy school, and then it was spa therapy school, which is all the same schools, just different programs. But I just changed my mind a lot because I realized like it wasn't something I wanted to do for a job. It was just more for fun. I've always been interested in cosmetology. It's just never like, I guess, professional. So I decided let's do what I've always wanted to do. Since a kid is being a teacher. So I'm currently starting with community college because I think college is too big of a jump for me right now. So yeah, I started community college. Technically taking a gap year, but I didn't want to do nothing for a gap year, so I'm taking like 1 or 2 classes slowly but surely until fall of next year, and then I'll be starting full time. Which then I'll have like a year and a half to do instead of 2 years. So my setup is super weird. It's technically my computer I'm filming with, but my phone is the one recording. Like, if that makes sense. Like, I clicked record on here on my computer, but then I said use the camera on here just so that I can get back on here. I mean, I could have used it anyhow. Crazy mess. So, I guess it's gonna kind of be ramble because it's already 2 minutes into the video and I'm just talking. It was my birthday on last Thursday, and I was gonna do what I got for my birthday. I didn't get a lot, but I got a few things that I love. One of the things I got that I could show you right now is my phone's propped up on, so I in fact cannot show you, but it is a cookbook that my girlfriend got me. It's called Scandinavian from Scratch, and so she's Danish, so it has recipes from Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. So I love it. I want to make two things I'm really, really excited to make, but I haven't had the time to because I work so often. Tomorrow's my day off, but I'm going to Disney, so I in fact will not be doing that, and that's why I'm making a video today. Anyhow, let's get to studying. I'm currently working on an English assignment that is called Unit 1.2 Quiz, Finding the Rhetorical Styles. The overview says, let's take a look at a narrative essay and see which of the rhetorical techniques you can identify. Quiz details: read the essay, The Miss Dennis School of Writing. Make sure to be an active reader and take notes on how you use descriptions, narration. So, I in fact will not be taking notes because I'm not a note type of gal. Probably bad, but womp womp. Sorry if I'm breathing on the mic really, really hard. It's just freaking hard to breathe, man. This is another bad part, is that if I'm out here, you guys can't hear me as good. Can you guys hear me? Oh, you can barely hear me. Where can I put this that you guys will be able to hear me better? Okay, so that was actually crazy. Is this better? I got a little box, a shoebox. There we go, a shoebox. Let's get started. The Miss Dennis School of Writing by Alice Steinbach. What kind of writing do you do? Asked the novelist sitting to my left at a writer's luncheon. I work for a newspaper in Baltimore, he was told. Oh, did you go to journalism school? Well, yes. Columbia, he asked, invoking the name of the most prestigious journalism school in the country. Actually, no. I heard myself tell Miss Dennis' School of Writing. Unimpressed, the novelist turned away. Clearly, it was a credential that did not measure up to his standards, but why should it? He was not one of the lucky ones. He had never met Miss Dennis, my ninth grade creative writing teacher, or had the good fortune to be her student, which meant he had never experienced the sight of Miss Dennis chasing Dorothy Singer around the classroom. These are hella dirty, but let's see if they'll help. Threatening her with a yardstick because Dorothy hadn't paid attention and her writing showed it. Do you want to be a writer? Miss Dennis would yell, out of breath from all the running and yardstick brandishing. Then pay attention to what's going on around you. Connect. Connect. You are not Switzerland, neutral, aloof, uninvolved. Think Italy. Miss Dennis said things like that. If you had any sense, you wrote them down. I can't teach you how to write, but I can tell you how to look at things, how to pay attention. She would bark out at us, like a drill sergeant confronting a group of undisciplined, wet behind-the-ears Marine recruits. If you can't tell, I'm not really good at reading. It's kind of embarrassing. Anyhow, to drive home her point, she had to take turns writing. It says it like that. A description of what we saw on the way to school in the morning. Of course, you never knew which morning would be your turn, so just be on the safe side. You got into the habit of looking things over carefully every morning and making notes. Saw a pot of red geranium sitting in the sunlight on a white stucco porch. An orange striped cat curled like a comma beneath a black van. A dark gray cloud scudding across a silver morning sky. It's a lesson that I have returned to again and again throughout my entire career. To this day, I think of Miss Dennis whenever I write a certain kind of sentence, or to be more precise, whenever I write a sentence that actually creates in words the picture I want readers to see. Take, for instance, this sentence. Miss Dennis was a small, compact, about albatross height, or so it seemed to her students, with short, straight hair, the color of apricots, and huge eyeglasses that were always slipping down her nose. Or this one. Miss Dennis always wore a variation of one outfit, a dark-colored flare woolen skirt, a tailored white blouse, and a cardigan sweater, usually black, thrown over her shoulders and held together by a pearl chain. Can you see her? I can, and the image of her makes me smile, still. But it was not Miss Dennis's appearance or her unusual teaching method, which had a lot of common with out-of-control terrier, that made her special. What set her apart was her deep commitment to liberating the individual writer in each student. What lies at the heart of good writing, she told us over and over again, is the writer's ability to find his own unique voice and then use it to tell an interesting story. Somehow she made it clear that we were interesting people with interesting stories to tell. Most of us, of course, had never even known we had a story to tell, much less an interesting one. But soon the story started bubbling from some inner wellspring. Finding the material, however, was one thing. Finding the individual voice was another. Take me, for instance. I arrived in Miss Dennis's class trailing all sorts of literary baggage. My usual routine was to write like Colette on Monday, one of the Bronte sisters on Wednesday, and Mark Twain on Friday. Right away, Miss Dennis knocked me off my high horse. Why are you telling other people's stories? She challenged me, peering it into my face. At 14, I was already 4 inches taller than Miss Dennis. You have your own stories to tell. I was tremendously relieved to hear this and immediately proceeded to write like my idol, E.B. White. Miss Dennis, however, wasn't buying. How will you ever find out what you have to say if you keep trying to say what other people have already said? Was the way she dispensed with my E.B. White impersonation. By the third week of class, Miss Dennis knew my secret. She knew I was afraid to pay attention to my own inner voice for fear that when I finally heard it, it would have nothing to say. What Miss Dennis afraid to discover what you're saying in the act of saying it. Then her inimitably breezy and entering way, she added, "Trust me on this one." From the beginning, she made it clear to us that it was not right or wrong answers she was after. It was thinking. To be afraid to go out on a limb, she'd tell some poor kid struggling to reason his way through an assignment on friendship or courage, and eventually, once we stopped being afraid that we'd be chopped out there on that limb, we needed no encouragement to say what we thought. In fact, after the first month, I can't remember ever feeling afraid of failing in her class. Passing or failing didn't seem to be the point of what she was teaching. Miss Dennis spent as much time, maybe more, pointing out what was right with your work as she did pointing out what was wrong. I can still hear her critiquing my best friend's incredibly florid essay on nature. "You're a very good observer of nature," she told the budding writer, "and if you just write what you see without thinking so much about adjectives and comparisons, we will see it through your attentive eyes." By Thanksgiving vacation, I think we were all a little infatuated with Miss Dennis, and beyond that, infatuated with the way she made us feel about ourselves, that we were interesting people worth listening to. I, of course, fancied I had a special relationship with her. It was certainly special to me, and to tell the truth, I knew she felt the same way. It's midnight. I'm sorry for all the yawns. The first time we acknowledged this was one day after class when I stayed behind to doctor. I often did that, and it seemed we talked about everything from the latest films to the last issue of the New Yorker. The one thing we did not talk about was the sadness I still felt about my father's death. He had died a few years before, and although I did not know it then, I was still grieving his absence. Without knowing the details, Miss Dennis somehow picked up on my sadness. Maybe it was there in my writing. Looking back, I see now that, without my writing about it directly, my father's death hovered at the edges of all my stories. But on this particular day, I found myself talking about the movies or writing, but instead pouring out my feelings about the loss of my father. I shall never forget that late fall afternoon, the sound of the vanilla-colored blinds flapping in the still classroom, the sun falling in shafts throughout the windows, each ray illuminating tiny galaxies of chalk dust in the air. The smell of wet blackboards, the teacher, small with apricot-colored hair, listening intently to a young lady blurting out her grief. These memories are stored like vintage photographs in my memory. The stories that pass between the one girl and the attentive teacher are harder to recall, with this exception. One day, Miss Dennis told me, "You will write about this, maybe not directly, but you will write about it. And you will find that all of this has made you a better writer and a stronger person." After that, it was like Miss Dennis and I shared something. We never talked again about my father, but spent most of the time discussing our mutual interest. We both loved poetry. Discovered one afternoon that each of us regarded Emily Dickinson with something approaching idolatry. What the? Right then and there, Miss Dennis gave me a crash course in why Emily Dickinson's poems worked. I can still hear her talking about the spare, slanted beauty in Dickinson's unique choice of words. She also told me about the rather cloistered life led by this New England spinster, noting that nonetheless Emily Dickinson knew the world as few others did. She found her world within the word. Is the way I remember Miss Dennis putting it. Of course, I would be making that part up. That night, propped up in bed she wanted from life or anything like that, and I never really wondered about it. Once I remember talking to some friends about her age. We guessed somewhere around 50, which seemed really old to us. In reality, Miss Dennis was around 40. It was Miss Dennis, by the way, who encouraged me to enter some writing contests. To my surprise, I took first place in a couple of them. Of course, taking first place is easy. What's hard is being rejected. But Miss Dennis helped me with that too, citing all the examples of famous writers who'd been rejected in time and time again. Do you know what they told George Orwell when they rejected Animal Farm? She would ask me. Then, without waiting for a reply, she'd answer her own question. The publisher told him it is impossible to sell animal stories in the USA. When I left her class at the end of the year, Miss Dennis gave me a present, a book of poems by Emily Dickinson. I have it still. The spine is cracked and the front cover almost gone, but the inscription remains. On the inside, dog started barking, and I don't know why, but it scared the living hell out of me. Alright, let's continue. The following sentence contains which figure of speech? Then pay attention to what's going on around you. Connect. You are not Switzerland. Neutral, aloft, uninvolved. Think Italy. Again, illusion, personification, simile, or metaphor. How many questions? Oh, there's only 7. Okay, cool. Identify which of the following descriptive phrases from the essay are similes and metaphors. Let me make sure I'm still filming. Hey, girls. Alright. Like a drill sergeant confronting a wet, undisciplined, behind the ears Marine recruits. An orange striped cat curled like a comma beneath a black fan. Hope is a thing